I'm Lily. I'm 31, and I've always been the responsible one in my family, the one who organizes things, smooths over drama, and ends up footing the bill when someone conveniently forgets their wallet. For years, I convinced myself that being the peacemaker was a badge of honor, that maybe one day they'd see how much I did for them and appreciate me for it. Spoiler, they never did. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for what happened with the cruise, or how deeply I was about to be betrayed by the people I thought loved me. It started last spring. My mom had this grand idea to plan a once-in-a-lifetime family cruise to celebrate her and Dad's 35th anniversary. She pitched it over our monthly family Zoom, with the same wide-eyed excitement she used when talking about redecorating the living room or starting a garden she'd abandoned 2 weeks in. But I'll admit, this time it sounded nice. She wanted all of us together. Me, my younger sister Jenna, my brother Thomas, his wife and kids, even our grumpy Uncle Rick. 7 days through the Mediterranean, fancy dinners, shore excursions, the works. All we have to do is show up, she said. Except that wasn't true. She needed someone to organize it all, book the tickets, research the cruise lines, coordinate passports, and guess who she asked to help out? Yours truly. Now, I'm a project manager by trade. I do logistics for a living. So part of me enjoyed the control. I spent weeks poring over cruise line options, comparing prices, reading reviews. I negotiated a group package with a travel agent, reserved adjacent cabins, and even managed to secure a dinner reservation on the captain's night. I fronted the deposit myself, $4, $800, because everyone's money was tied up or payday hadn't hit yet, and we were on a deadline. My mom promised they'd all pay me back. And of course, because it was under my name, I was listed as the primary contact and booking owner. Keep that in mind. Things were fine at first. There was the usual flurry of group texts, outfit planning, itinerary suggestions, and passive-aggressive jabs from my mom about how Jen has been so busy with her new relationship and could I handle most of the organizing. Since I don't have a lot going on socially, whatever. I bit my tongue. I'd gotten good at that. Until one Sunday dinner at my parents' place, everything changed. We were eating on the patio barbecue, my dad's specialty, and everyone was chatting about shore excursions when Jenna, with this casual little grin, said, "Oh, by the way, I'm bringing Tyler on the cruise. We got engaged last week." Everything froze. My fork clinked against my plate, and my stomach dropped like a stone. Tyler? She was bringing Tyler? Tyler, who was my ex-boyfriend of 4 years. Tyler, who I lived with. Tyler, who proposed to me once and then ghosted me 6 weeks before our wedding, drained our joint account, and left me to explain to friends and vendors why there was no ceremony. That Tyler. I looked at Jenna, blinking. "You're engaged?" To Tyler. She rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. "Yeah, I thought you knew we were dating." I hadn't. Not one whisper. Not a rumor. Not a clue. The last time I heard anything about Tyler, he'd moved out of state. Apparently, they'd reconnected through mutual friends last year, and somehow Jenna decided dating her sister's ex-fiancé was totally normal behavior. I turned to my parents, waiting for them to react, to say something, to stop this madness. But Mom just smiled and said, "It's not ideal, but you know, love finds a way." I nearly laughed. "You're seriously okay with this?" With her bringing him? Dad cleared his throat and mumbled something about second chances, and Jenna leaned forward with this smug little smirk. "Look, Lily, it's not about you. This cruise is for Mom and Dad. Don't make everything personal." I stood up, shaking. I wanted to scream. But instead, I said, "If he goes, I don't." Mom frowned. "Lily, don't be selfish. Tyler's part of the family now." "No, he's part of her drama. And he left me. Do you not remember what he did to me?" Jenna crossed her arms. "He made a mistake. People change. I'm happy now. Why can't you be happy for me?" I stared at her. My sister. The girl who cried with me when Tyler disappeared, who helped me cancel wedding arrangements, who said she hated him. And now she was marrying him? Dragging him onto a trip I paid for? I walked out that night and didn't say another word to anyone for 2 weeks. Eventually, I got a text from Mom. "We gave your spot to Tyler. He's covering his cost. Let us know if you change your mind." That was it. No apology. No acknowledgement. I wasn't even asked. I was replaced. On a trip I spent months organizing and fronting money for. Something in me snapped. Not in a screaming, throwing things kind of way. In a cold, calculated, crystal clear way. I logged into the cruise account that night, still listed as the primary. I checked all the names, sure enough. They'd added Tyler to my spot. not a new booking. My reservation. And no one had updated the main contact. So I started making calls. To the cruise line. To the travel agent. I played dumb at first, just double-checking I'm still the owner of the group booking. Yep, still me. Can I make changes? Absolutely, as long as I could verify my ID and booking number. Which I could. I waited. I gave them time to pack their bags, make their Instagram posts, load the car. Then, 2 hours before departure, I picked up the phone, gave them my credentials, and said, calmly, I'd like to cancel the group booking. All of it. The agent hesitated. You're sure? There are 9 people booked. Correct. Cancel it all. Please confirm the refund policy. There was silence. Then typing. Then the quiet, unmistakable click of every plan they'd made dissolving right in front of them. And then, I waited. I knew what time they were supposed to check in at the port. I knew what pier. I knew the group itinerary. I even knew Jenna was planning to wear a white sundress for embarkation photos. What I didn't know was how they'd react. Until the text started rolling in. Lily, what did you do? Lily, call me right now. They won't let us board. They're saying it was canceled? Mom is crying. Dad is yelling. Tyler is freaking out. This isn't funny. You ruined everything. I sat on my couch, phone buzzing in my lap, and for the first time in years, I smiled. But I didn't reply. I didn't reply that day. Or the next. I turned off my phone and drove upstate to a quiet cabin I'd rented in advance, where I had no signal, no guilt, and absolutely no intention of dealing with the fallout. I had a stack of novels, a playlist of music I hadn't listened to since college, and for the first time in years, a full week to myself with no expectations, no family guilt tripping, no emotional blackmail. Just peace. While they were standing in line at the port screaming at a confused cruise staff about how this had to be some mistake, I was sitting on a deck sipping iced coffee with a wool blanket wrapped around my legs and the sun on my face. I didn't even tell my friends what I'd done. Not yet. I needed a few days to process it myself. When I got back into signal range 5 days later, my phone blew up the second I turned it on. Missed calls. Voicemails. Long text messages in all caps. My mom had sent me 14 messages in a row, varying between, how could you? And please just explain what's happening. One voicemail from my dad was just him sighing for 23 seconds before muttering, this is ridiculous, and hanging up. Jenna sent the most. Pictures of her standing by the terminal in tears, one of her luggage by the curb, and then a long message that just read, I cannot believe you'd ruin Mom and Dad's anniversary like this. You are so spiteful and petty, it's actually disgusting. Tyler and I didn't deserve this. You ruined everything. Don't ever contact me again. And then, 20 minutes later, another message. Also, the cruise line won't issue a refund. You're the one who canceled. So guess what, genius? You owe all of us the money back. $8,000. Pay up. I laughed. Out loud. Sitting in my car in the middle of a grocery store parking lot. Just straight up laughed. Because of course she didn't read the fine print. Of course she didn't understand how bookings work. The refund was processed to me. I'd taken out cancellation insurance when I booked the cruise, knowing how flaky my family could be. I filed the claim the day after canceling. I wasn't out a dime. In fact, after some negotiation with the agent and a fee or two, I got nearly 95% of the total cost back in my account within a week. They got nothing. No cruise. No photos. No Mediterranean cocktails. No spa day. No formal dinner. Nothing. I didn't respond right away. I wanted them to stew. To let it sink in. To really understand what it felt like to be dismissed, replaced, and ignored like I didn't matter. And then, 3 days later, when the messages started tapering off into silence, I finally sent one text in the family group chat, short, cold, and crystal clear. You all decided I didn't matter. You gave my spot to the man who ruined my life, and not one of you defended me. You chose Tyler over your own daughter/sister. So I made a choice, too. Actions have consequences. I'm done being your doormat. That was it. No, let's talk. No open-ended olive branch. I wasn't looking for reconciliation. I was done. My mom called within 5 minutes. I didn't answer. The next morning, I woke up to a novel in my inbox, an email from her, full of emotional manipulation. We didn't think you'd actually cancel. You always take things too far. We were just trying to move on. She even had the audacity to write, Tyler is a good man now. Jenna deserves happiness. I deleted it. Later that week, I got a call from my cousin Melissa, who wasn't on the cruise but had apparently heard about the chaos through the family grapevine. She's always been one of the few in the family who actually listens and doesn't get swept up in the drama. When I answered, the first thing she said was, "Please tell me it's true. You really did it." I told her everything. She laughed so hard she snorted. "I'm sorry, but that's the most savage, well-deserved thing I've ever heard." They're still furious. "Your mom's been telling everyone you hacked the cruise line." That's when I knew they hadn't told the whole truth. They were spinning the narrative, painting me as unstable, impulsive, bitter. A woman scorned. But I didn't care. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't explaining myself. I wasn't chasing their approval. I wasn't begging to be treated like I mattered. I was just free. Then came the kicker. A letter. Not an email, not a text. A handwritten letter from Jenna. It arrived in a cream-colored envelope a few weeks after the dust had mostly settled. Her handwriting, still the same bubbly loops from when we were kids, filled the page front and back. I sat on the couch, heart pounding, expecting a bomb. But what I got was worse. It was fake forgiveness. She wrote that she understood I was hurting, that she should have told me sooner, but that family is about forgiveness, and holding grudges is what destroys relationships. She never apologized, not really. Never admitted what she did was cruel. And she ended the letter by saying she hoped I'd be mature enough to attend their wedding, as a guest, of course. That was the moment I realized she genuinely believed she'd done nothing wrong. And I had one final decision to make. I folded the letter carefully, slid it back into the envelope, and stared at it for a good 10 minutes. My hands were steady, my breathing calm. But inside, something ice-cold had settled in my chest, a resolve I hadn't felt before. Because if Jenna thought I was going to read her passive-aggressive non-apology and come crawling back into the fold with some weak smile and a gift from her registry, she had another thing coming. I wasn't going to write her back. I was going to show her. Now, remember that cruise refund? I didn't tell anyone where it went. And they all just assumed I'd spend it on myself. Maybe a vacation, maybe clothes. In truth, I'd done something a little different. After months of holding back, I used that money to launch something I'd been dreaming about for years, my own consulting business. I'd had the idea simmering for ages, and the funds from the canceled cruise were exactly what I needed to finally make it real. Website, branding, legal filings, client outreach. I dove into it with the energy of someone who had nothing to lose and a lifetime of resentment to burn. And then, I got lucky. Or maybe I was just good. One of my old colleagues from a previous job heard about my services through the grapevine, and within a month, she brought me on to consult for her growing tech startup. That one contract led to another, and then another. And before I knew it, I had 5 clients, consistent income, and more peace of mind than I'd ever had in my life. I was working for me now. No more toxic bosses, no more family drama distracting me from deadlines, and best of all, no one second-guessing whether I mattered. That's when I got the wedding invitation. It arrived in late September. Jenna and Tyler had set the date for early November. It was a fancy card with gold foil edges, a picture of them standing on a dock at sunset, smiling like a Hallmark movie ad. And on the RSVP, in handwriting that wasn't Jenna's, someone had added in pen, "Please let us know if you've moved past things." I stared at it. Moved past things? They thought this was a petty squabble. Like I'd borrowed a sweater and forgot to return it. Like I hadn't been publicly humiliated, emotionally gutted, and thrown aside by the people who were supposed to protect me. They wanted me to come and clap politely while my sister married my ex-fiancé, to sit in a pew and smile while he slid a ring onto her finger. And so, I made my plan. You see, Jenna had always been obsessed with appearances. She curated her Instagram feed like it was a lifestyle brand, constantly posted about her journey, her healing, her chosen family. She wanted her wedding to be a social event, an image, and I knew just how to shatter it. I RSVP'd yes, not because I was going to attend, but because it gave me time and access. I started with the venue. I called and, pretending to be Jenna's assistant, her wedding planner had apparently quit over creative differences a few weeks earlier. I confirmed that I was allowed to send materials in advance to be set up on the day. The woman on the phone didn't question me. I used the same voice I used to manage clients, polite but firm. Yes, the bride just wants to make sure these personal letters from loved ones are displayed on the guest book table. Very sentimental. Then I got to work writing a letter. Not to Jenna. To Tyler. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't cruel. It was factual. I included the date he emptied our joint account, The receipts, the screenshots of our last messages before he ghosted me, the catering deposit I had to eat, and even a copy of the therapy bill I racked up trying to piece myself back together after he left. I printed it on heavy parchment paper, sealed it in an envelope with his name on it, and included a small note on the front that said, "You forgot some things. Thought you might want them back." I mailed it to the venue. I also scheduled a little something else, a Google ad. See, Jenna and Tyler had created a wedding hashtag. It was on the invite, on their wedding website, even included in the ceremony program. And they were encouraging guests to use it. What they didn't realize is that hashtags can be indexed. I bought a few targeted ads connected to that hashtag. Anyone who clicked on it during the wedding weekend, anyone searching photos, would see a sponsored post that read, "Curious about Tyler and Jenna's love story? You might want to read this first." It linked to a private blog post. Not dramatic, not emotional, just a calm, detailed recounting of my experience with Tyler. Dates, facts, screenshots, no commentary, just the truth. I didn't know how many people would see it. I didn't care. It wasn't for them. It was for me. A line in the sand. And the best part? I didn't even go to the wedding. I booked a weekend at a spa resort 2 hours away, turned off my phone, and let the storm unfold without me. I don't know exactly what happened when Tyler opened that letter, or how many people clicked on that ad during the reception. I don't know if the whispers started before or after the cake cutting, or if Jenna saw it right away or not until days later when the tag stopped working. What I do know is this. When I turned my phone back on Sunday night, I had 32 missed calls. 3 from Jenna, 4 from my mom, 17 from Tyler. The rest? From numbers I didn't recognize. No voicemails, no texts, just silence. And that silence? It was the sweetest sound I'd ever heard. When I saw the flurry of missed calls, I didn't panic. I didn't even flinch. I turned my phone face down on the coffee table and let it buzz itself into exhaustion. The days of me rushing to smooth things over were over. I wasn't that girl anymore. But I was curious. So I opened my laptop, pulled up the analytics from the ad campaign, and smiled. Over 2,100 people had seen the post. Nearly 800 had clicked through to the blog. The wedding hashtag? Scrubbed. Deleted from their Instagram captions. Their wedding website now redirected to a 404 page. Poof. Gone. Later that evening, I received one email. Just one. It was from Tyler. No subject line. No greeting. "You're unbelievable. You ruined my life. I hope it was worth it." I stared at that sentence for a long time, sipping chamomile tea like it was champagne. Then I hit reply and typed, "No, Tyler. You ruined your own life. I just told the truth." Then I blocked his email address. Permanently. A few days later, the real fallout began. Melissa, my cousin, called me in disbelief. "Did you hear what happened after the wedding?" "Nope," I said casually, folding laundry with one hand and holding the phone with the other. She was practically breathless. So apparently, after the letter got opened, yes, during the reception, by the way, there was a full-blown fight between Jenna and Tyler in the bridal suite. He accused her of setting him up. She screamed that he never told her any of what he did to you. She slapped him. He stormed out. Alone. I blinked. He left the wedding? Left. Didn't even spend the night. Their honeymoon flights were canceled. And get this, Jenna posted a photo the next morning of her alone in her wedding dress with a caption that just said, "Sometimes, love isn't enough." I nearly choked on my tea. Melissa went on. "Your mom's been trying to spin it as a bump in the road, but Aunt Grace told me your parents are furious that you embarrassed the family. Jenna's not speaking to anyone. She thinks everyone was in on it." And Tyler? Word is he's trying to move back in with his parents. Good. Let him explain that to his mom. I spent the next few weeks completely unbothered. I poured myself into growing my business, which, by the way, only gained traction thanks to the unexpected traffic from the blog post. A few women in tech who'd seen the story reached out privately, asking about my consulting services. Some just wanted to thank me for speaking up. Others hired me. Funny how speaking your truth opens more doors than staying silent ever could. 1 month later, I got a letter in the mail. This time from my mother. It was stiff, overly formal, and clearly written through gritted teeth. She apologized for the lack of foresight and the misunderstanding with the cruise. She said the family regretted how things unfolded and hoped I'd be willing to rejoin them for Thanksgiving. There was no mention of what Jenna did, no accountability, no acknowledgement of how deeply I'd been betrayed. Just a hollow olive branch wrapped in guilt and entitlement. I didn't reply. Instead, I donated $2,000 from my cruise refund to a women's shelter downtown and dropped off 2 boxes of supplies the next day. The staff hugged me. A resident cried when I handed her a brand new coat. It was the warmest holiday season I've ever had. By Christmas, I'd moved to a new city. Bigger, busier. No more running into family at the grocery store. No more awkward invitations. Just me, my clients, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that I'd walked away without burning myself to keep anyone else warm. I unfollowed them all, deleted their numbers, blocked the guilt, shut the door, and I've never looked back. Because when someone tries to replace you on a cruise you planned, with the man who broke you, you don't chase after the boat. You cancel the whole thing and sail off on your own terms. Alone, but free.